You mentioned Steve Austin. He actually encouraged you to do a podcast, right? The Iron On podcast.
Yeah. When I did his podcast almost 2 years ago now, we did one episode just about my career and stuff, and I didn't know what the situation was going to look like going over his house and spending time with him. And so after we finished the first podcast, he said, "What are you doing for the rest of the day? You want to hang out and do another podcast, talk about wrestling, talk about our favorite matches?" And I'm thinking to myself, no, Stone Cold Steve Austin. I've got better crap to do. But so I was like, yeah, of course. And so we just did this podcast where, so I guess to kind of backtrack a little bit, before I thought I could become a wrestler, I didn't think I could do so because of my disability. And so I thought if I could be a wrestling commentator, that would be the path to go. But I didn't think as a kid, well, all these guys have like notes in front of them and stuff. So I just committed stuff to memory. And so I have the most useless wrestling knowledge, especially WWF, like just memorize facts and statistics and like attendance records. And so for the first time in my life, as I'm podcasting with Stone Cold, my useless, pathetic WWE knowledge came in handy because I was able to set him up for his own stories, because some of my favorite matches do involve Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so I was able to throw dates at him and like put him in positions for stories. Like, we're talking about our favorite matches, and I said, can we talk about your 3 matches with The Rock at WrestleMania, because those are some of my favorite matches of all time? He's like, sure, we could talk about those. And then I said, Steve, now if you were to put those in order, how would you rank them? Because I would go 17, 19, 15, and I would put 15 last, not because it was a bad match, because I know going into that match you forgot your vest and you had to wear a t-shirt to the ring. He's like, God damn, kid. And then he goes into the whole story about WrestleMania 15, and I've heard it a million times, but to sit there in person and hear him tell me the story, it was unbelievable. And then after that fact, the feedback that he basically got from those episodes when we were talking on the phone, which is weird that me and Stone Cold talk on the phone, he said a lot of people said that they could see me interviewing him. Mm-hmm. Have you ever thought about doing a podcast? And I said, I don't know. Everyone does a podcast. But this last year was like the first year in my wrestling career that I decided I was just going to focus on wrestling and motivational speaking, which I've been doing on and off for years. And someone invested in podcasting equipment for me and said, try, do it. And I said, well, I have no excuses now, so I'm going all in on this stuff. And it's actually been quite enjoyable. It's like nice to sit with my friends and like pull stories out of them that maybe they've never told publicly, or just to get to know some of my peers better. Like in this, this is the most organic way to do interviews. I feel like some guys have been like, well, let's just do it over the phone. I'm like, no, if you can't do it in person,
it's
like
so
I don't want to do it. So it's been a pretty cool thing.
It's so much better in person. You're a colorful, easy for me to say, personality. And I've said for a long time on the WWE level, like Lillian Garcia is one of the best interviewers because they have a level of comfortability with her.
Sure.
They've worked with her. They respect her. And I get the feeling that's a lot of the same with you. They've worked with you. They respect you. They know that you know what you're talking about in that regard.
Yeah, and I feel like right now it's like there's going to be guys that like have bigger name value that I've watched on TV that maybe I want to sit down with. But right now I'm just kind of trying to focus on like my friends and people that I've shared locker rooms with, because I already know stuff about them, and I do a lot of research too. Like sometimes I'm sitting down with my friends and I'm throwing stuff at them with this vast knowledge, and they're like, well, how do you know that? I'm like, I did my research. I'm taking this very serious, but also like I think there's a lot of podcasts out there, some very low bar podcasts, and so like it's with those podcasts that might not have the most name recognition that these guys have done in the past, it's nice to go back and listen to those, because then I can take from their basic questions that they asked, where they're just kind of Googling or reading off Wikipedia, and then I can expand upon them and try to dig a little deeper and get some new content, and that's been the beauty of the podcast.